You are now looking live at Buckingham Palace, the home of...
Not yet, they're not.
Very soon. Of kings and queens for centuries. But later this morning, it is King Charles III who is preparing to be crowned.
For years, King Charles has carefully guarded the image of the monarchy, revealing only what he believes the public should know. But now, a shocking announcement about Queen Camilla's future has left Britain stunned, and royal watchers scrambling for answers. The unexpected revelation has sparked intense debate, raising questions about what may be unfolding behind palace walls. Is this a carefully planned decision, the result of mounting pressure, or the beginning of a dramatic new chapter for the royal family? Stay with us as we uncover the story. But what could have prompted King Charles to make such an announcement? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. To help us create more videos and uncover the latest royal drama, please subscribe. The decision that shocked Britain. Britain has lived through some of the most dramatic royal moments in modern history. Each crisis has left a permanent mark on the monarchy, changing not only the royal family itself, but also the way the public sees it. Some events unfolded with shocking speed, while others built quietly before exploding into headlines. Yet every one of them altered the course of history in ways few could have imagined. The first came in 1936, when a reigning king made the astonishing decision to give up the throne for the woman he loved. The abdication sent shockwaves throughout Britain and the Commonwealth, proving that even a monarch could be forced to choose between duty and the heart. It was a decision that reshaped the future of the royal family for generations. Decades later, another royal earthquake struck. In 1992, the fairy tale marriage of Charles and Diana fell apart before the eyes of the world. What had once seemed like the perfect royal romance became a painful public breakdown filled with tension, disappointment, and endless media attention. Confidence in the monarchy was shaken, and millions questioned whether the institution could survive such deeply personal turmoil. Then came September 2022, when Britain stood still to mourn the passing of Queen Elizabeth II. After an extraordinary 70 years on the throne, the nation's longest-serving monarch was gone. Streets filled with grieving crowds, flags flew at half-mast, and people across the world watched as an unforgettable chapter of British history came to a close. It was the end of an era unlike any other. Each of these events swept across the country like a fierce storm, sudden, emotional, and impossible to undo. But what happened next, involving Queen Camilla, carried a very different feeling. No crowds were gathering outside Buckingham Palace. No urgent television broadcasts interrupted regular programming. No dramatic speech from the king. Instead, everything unfolded almost silently. Information emerged through carefully managed palace statements, released with little fanfare. By the time the public fully understood what had happened, the decision had already been made behind closed doors. Queen Camilla would no longer continue carrying out her public responsibilities as queen consort. The woman who had stood faithfully beside King Charles during the coronation, welcomed world leaders at grand state banquets, attended remembrance ceremonies, represented the crown at diplomatic receptions, and performed countless official engagements, would quietly step away from one of the monarchy's most visible roles. Royal insiders were quick to insist that this was far more than a short break or a temporary adjustment. They argued it was not simply a matter of health or scheduling. Instead, it marked a fundamental reshaping of Camilla's public position within the monarchy, a decision that could only receive permanent approval from one person, King Charles himself. Almost immediately, one question echoed across Britain. Why would a king redefine the public role of the very woman he had spent decades determined to marry? According to sources familiar with palace affairs, the answer did not begin with a public announcement. It began weeks earlier, inside a private room at Windsor Castle, where one quiet and unexpected decision set in motion events that would soon capture the attention of the entire nation. So, what prompted the decision? Why was it declared at that moment? Let's delve into the details of the Windsor Castle incident that changed everything, the silent battle for authority. At first, it appeared to be nothing more than another ordinary planning session inside the historic walls of Windsor Castle. Senior members of the royal family and a select group of trusted palace officials had gathered to prepare for an upcoming investiture ceremony, one of the monarchy's long-standing traditions where distinguished men and women receive medals and honors for their service. On the surface, it seemed like a routine event that would soon pass without attracting much attention. Yet those who understand royal life know that almost nothing inside the palace is ever as ordinary as it appears. Within the monarchy, every small detail carries meaning. Every chair around the table has a purpose. Every guest arrives in a carefully planned order. Every position reflects rank, influence, and the future of the crown. Long before the meeting began, King Charles had personally approved the seating plan. One chair, placed in the most important position at the table, had been reserved specifically for Catherine, Princess of Wales. It was not simply the most comfortable seat in the room. It represented the growing responsibilities she is expected to shoulder as the future queen and reflected the king's confidence in her expanding role within the royal family. However, before the other guests had fully assembled, Queen Camilla reportedly walked into the room and took that very seat for herself. Palace staff noticed immediately. One aide approached respectfully and quietly explained that the chair had already been reserved according to the king's instructions. Despite the reminder, Camilla did not move. She remained seated, leaving those present uncertain about what would happen next. Only moments later, Catherine entered the room. Her eyes quickly swept across the table before resting on the occupied chair. She paused for only a brief moment, instantly understanding the situation before her. Rather than allowing the meeting to become awkward or turning the moment into a public disagreement, she calmly chose another seat without saying a single word. Yet that quiet decision spoke volumes. The silence hanging over the room became heavier than any argument could have been, and many present were left with the unmistakable feeling that this had been far more than a simple mistake. When news of the incident eventually reached King Charles, he avoided any public display of anger. Instead, he reportedly arranged a private discussion with Camilla, hoping to understand exactly what had happened. Her explanation, however, only deepened the mystery instead of resolving it. Then came an even more startling twist. Documents reportedly surfaced, suggesting that the original seating arrangement may have been changed before anyone even entered the room. If that claim proved true, the incident was no spontaneous misunderstanding, but a carefully planned move. For Charles, one troubling question suddenly overshadowed everything else. If royal arrangements could be quietly changed without his knowledge, what other unseen decisions might already be shaping life behind palace doors? Why did Catherine deliberately avoid Camilla at that point? Have they had a tense relationship all the while? Let's dive into the details of the relationship marked by respect, rivalry, and the changing face of the monarchy. Inside, Camilla and Catherine's relationship. For many years, the relationship between Queen Camilla and Catherine, Princess of Wales, has remained one of the most closely watched dynamics inside the British royal family. To the public, the two women have almost always appeared polite, respectful, and united whenever they have attended official events together. Their smiles, conversations, and shared appearances have projected an image of harmony. Yet behind the palace walls, royal commentators have long suggested that the story may be more complicated than it appears. According to reports from royal insiders, any tension between the two women has rarely been rooted in personal dislike. Instead, it has reportedly reflected the changing balance of power within the monarchy as the royal family prepares for its next generation of leadership. With Prince William destined to become king one day, Catherine's position and influence have naturally continued to grow, placing her at the very heart of the monarchy's future. For Queen Camilla, the journey to the throne was anything but easy. She spent decades facing criticism, public skepticism, and constant media attention, before finally earning wider acceptance as the wife of King Charles and eventually as queen. Those close to the palace say she deeply values the role she worked so hard to achieve. After overcoming years of challenges, she is said to take enormous pride in carrying out her royal duties and representing the crown. Because of that long and difficult journey, Some reports suggest she has found it emotionally difficult to watch certain responsibilities and public attention gradually shift toward Catherine. Meanwhile, the Princess of Wales has quietly built an extraordinary reputation of her own. Through years of dedication, charitable work, and carefully chosen public engagements, she has become one of the monarchy's most admired and trusted figures. Her calm personality, commitment to family life, and ability to connect with people from all walks of life have made her increasingly popular both in Britain and abroad. As expectations surrounding her future role continue to grow, so too does her influence within the royal family. Even so, not everyone believes the relationship has been marked by rivalry. Other palace sources describe a far more cooperative picture, saying Catherine has consistently shown Camilla respect, kindness, and courtesy. Rather than competing for attention, they suggest both women have focused on serving the monarchy in different ways, while supporting the institution during a period of significant change. In the end, whatever moments of tension may have existed appear to reflect something much larger than a personal disagreement. They are seen as part of the natural transition from one royal generation to the next. As Catherine gradually takes on greater responsibilities and moves closer to her future role as queen, the balance of influence inside the royal family continues to evolve, ensuring that the relationship between these two senior royal women remains one of the monarchy's most fascinating and closely followed stories. How did King Charles handle the situation? Did he humiliate his wife for what she did wrongly? Let's dig into the details of the marriage tested by duty and crown. The silent conversation that changed history. The meeting took place behind closed doors, away from the noise of palace life. King Charles had made a deliberate choice. He wanted no advisors standing nearby, no private secretaries taking notes, and no trusted aides waiting outside the door. There would be no witnesses to what was about to unfold. It was simply the king, Queen Camilla, and a small collection of official papers resting silently on the table between them. The quietness of the room made the moment feel even heavier. Charles broke the silence with a calm but direct question. He asked whether Camilla had known that the prominent seat at the event had originally been reserved for Catherine. There was no attempt to avoid the truth. After a brief pause, Camilla admitted that she had known all along. The atmosphere remained calm. There were no raised voices, angry accusations, or dramatic confrontations. Those who have worked closely with King Charles often say that he rarely needs to shout when delivering difficult messages. His calm tone can be far more powerful than anger. In moments like these, silence itself becomes a form of authority, leaving every word to carry enormous weight. As the conversation continued, Camilla finally spoke openly about feelings she had hidden for many years. She explained that her journey to becoming queen had been filled with hardship. For decades, she had lived under relentless criticism, public rejection, painful comparisons, and constant scrutiny. Winning acceptance had taken years of patience and endurance, and becoming queen consort had seemed like the long-awaited reward for everything she had suffered. But now, another fear had quietly taken hold. It was not the thought of growing older or eventually stepping away from royal duties that troubled her most. It was the fear of slowly fading into the background as Catherine's popularity and public influence continued to grow. She worried that history would remember others while overlooking the difficult road she had traveled to reach her place beside the king. Charles listened without interrupting. He understood her pain and appreciated the sacrifices she believed she had made. Yet he also carried a responsibility far greater than personal feelings. He knew the monarchy could never be guided by individual emotions alone. Every decision had to protect the future of the institution. When he finally spoke, his words reportedly brought the discussion to its conclusion. He reminded her that the crown had never existed to preserve their personal happiness or even their marriage. Its purpose was to safeguard the monarchy for future generations. Camilla quietly removed one of her royal insignia and placed it carefully on the desk. In a calm voice, she reportedly said that if the authority represented by those symbols no longer truly belonged to her. She no longer wished to wear them. Without another word, she rose and walked out, leaving Charles sitting alone. Within the hour, the king reportedly instructed his constitutional advisors to begin preparing formal changes, marking the beginning of what many would later describe as the most painful decision of his reign. Will Camilla's royal journey just end like that? Will she allow all she has sacrificed for to vanish into thin air all at once? Let's take a look at Camilla's long and difficult journey to the crown, Camilla's path to royal redemption. Queen Camilla's journey to the British throne was never a simple love story. It was a long, difficult path marked by heartbreak, public anger, relentless media attention, and years of patient determination. Few members of the royal family have experienced such a dramatic change in public opinion. Her story is one of surviving criticism, remaining loyal through difficult times, and gradually earning acceptance in a role that many people once believed she would never hold. Camilla first met the man who would later become King Charles III in the early 1970s. The two quickly formed a close bond, but circumstances prevented their relationship from continuing. As life moved on, both married other people. Charles married Princess Diana in what became one of the most celebrated royal weddings in history, while Camilla built her own family life. Yet fate would eventually bring Charles and Camilla back together during the difficult years of Charles's troubled marriage. When news of their renewed relationship became public, it triggered one of the greatest scandals the modern monarchy had ever faced. Millions of people blamed Camilla for the collapse of Charles and Diana's marriage. Newspapers and television programs portrayed her as the villain in a heartbreaking royal drama. The criticism was fierce, and for many years she remained one of the most unpopular figures connected to the royal family. Even after Princess Diana's tragic death in 1997, public anger did not disappear. Camilla stayed largely out of public view while the royal family carefully worked to rebuild trust. Rather than trying to change opinions overnight, she quietly carried on with her responsibilities, allowing time and consistent actions to speak louder than words. A major step came when she married Charles in 2005. Instead of adopting the title Princess of Wales, strongly associated with Diana, Camilla chose to be known as the Duchess of Cornwall. Many people saw this as a thoughtful and respectful decision that acknowledged Diana's lasting place in the hearts of the public. Over the next 2 decades, Camilla devoted herself to charity work, championing causes such as literacy, domestic abuse awareness, and support for victims of sexual violence. At the same time, she faithfully stood beside Charles through countless royal engagements at home and abroad. Her steady commitment gradually softened public attitudes. The defining moment arrived in 2022, when the late Queen Elizabeth II publicly expressed her sincere wish that Camilla should one day be known as Queen Consort, praising her loyal and dedicated service. After Charles became king later that year, Camilla assumed that title, and following the coronation in May 2023, she became known simply as Queen Camilla. Her remarkable transformation from one of Britain's most controversial public figures to the king's trusted partner and queen remains one of the most extraordinary image recoveries in modern royal history. How did the royal family receive the king's decision? Was there any objection? How did Catherine feel about it? Let's find out. Inside Charles's most consequential meeting. Long before the public heard even the faintest whisper of the decision, King Charles quietly summoned the senior working members of the royal family for what was officially described as a constitutional briefing. The invitation sounded routine, but everyone who entered the room understood that this meeting carried unusual weight. Present were Prince William, Princess Catherine, Princess Anne, and Prince Edward. The atmosphere was calm but serious, as each person knew that the decisions made that day would shape the monarchy's future. At the heart of the discussion was an unavoidable reality. Many of the royal duties and ceremonial responsibilities that had previously belonged to Queen Camilla would now have to be reassigned. Every engagement, every public appearance, and every official role had to be carefully redistributed in a way that would preserve both tradition and public confidence. Prince William approached the matter with a steady and practical mindset. He believed that the strength of the monarchy depended on stability above all else. In his view, the public needed to see a clear and unquestioned line of authority. Any confusion about who carried which responsibilities, or any uncertainty about the future of the crown, could weaken trust in the institution and create unnecessary speculation. Princess Catherine, however, viewed the situation from a deeply personal perspective. As documents were placed before her, she noticed that several ceremonies and public engagements once assigned to Camilla were now listed under her own name. Rather than welcoming the expanded role, she reportedly felt uneasy. In private, she made her feelings unmistakably clear to William. She wanted no impression that she had gained from another woman's setback. There should be no celebration, no appearance of victory, and certainly no suggestion that personal ambition had influenced events. Every step, she insisted, had to be handled with humility and dignity. Princess Anne spoke with the directness for which she has long been respected. She argued that rules only have meaning when they apply equally to everyone, regardless of rank or personal relationships. If the monarchy expected discipline, accountability, and sacrifice from others, then those closest to the sovereign had to live by those same standards without exception. Prince Edward contributed little during the discussions, but his thoughtful silence appeared to signal quiet agreement with the direction the meeting was taking. After hours of careful debate, Charles finally approved the official order. Reports suggested that the document contained unusually firm provisions, making it difficult for any future changes to reverse the decision. As the meeting ended, the king turned to William and offered a quiet but unforgettable lesson. A future sovereign, he said, must never allow personal affection to outweigh constitutional duty, because the survival of the crown depends on placing responsibility above emotion. How soon did the verdict take effect? Was there any protest or grumbling? How did Camilla bid her farewell? Let's delve into the details of the quiet goodbye that no one saw coming. The quiet fall of Camilla. The transformation was so swift that many people inside the palace struggled to understand what was happening. One day, Queen Camilla's schedule was filled with official visits, meetings, and royal duties. By the next, almost every commitment had quietly disappeared. Invitations that had once arrived daily suddenly stopped coming. Public appearances were removed from the calendar without explanation. The constant flow of official papers, briefings, and plans that had shaped her working life simply came to an end. Behind palace walls, the changes were even more striking. Members of Camilla's team were discreetly informed that they would now answer to different senior officials. The household she had spent years building into a respected and independent royal office seemed to dissolve almost overnight. Long-established routines were abandoned. Familiar faces walked through the corridors with quiet uncertainty, unsure of what the next few days would bring. It was as though an entire chapter of royal life was being erased before their eyes. Then came the moment that touched everyone who witnessed it. Her office, once full of activity and conversation, began to be emptied piece by piece. Cardboard boxes appeared on the floor. Important files were carefully sorted and packed away. Shelves that had held years of memories slowly became bare. Framed photographs that had decorated the walls were gently lifted down, each one marking a different stage of her long and often difficult journey within the royal family. As one aide reached toward a framed portrait of King Charles, Camilla quietly raised her hand and asked her to stop. Without saying a word, she stepped forward and lifted the photograph herself. She held it carefully, staring at it for several long moments in complete silence. The image reminded her of the man who had stood beside her through decades of public criticism, relentless headlines, and some of the hardest years of her life. He had defended her when few others did. Yet now, the official order carrying his own signature had set these painful changes into motion. The day continued with more quiet signs that a new royal era had begun. Charities that had proudly worked with Camilla received formal letters informing them that future engagements would now be carried out by Catherine or Sophie. Plans for state ceremonies were revised. Processions were rearranged. Official schedules were rewritten from top to bottom. By the time evening arrived, almost every visible reminder of Camilla's public role had quietly vanished. leaving behind an unsettling silence. But just when it seemed there was nothing more to say, an unexpected message arrived. It was not another formal decree or palace instruction. Instead, King Charles sent a simple handwritten note, asking Camilla to meet him alone at dawn, setting the stage for a conversation that could change everything once again. Will the public be willing to have Catherine as their queen? What do people say about Catherine? Let's delve into the details of the princess who earned public trust through quiet strength. How Catherine won Britain's hearts. Although questions continued to swirl around the royal family's handling of Catherine's long absence from public life in early 2024, one thing became increasingly clear. The Princess of Wales herself had not lost the trust or admiration of the British people. While the palace faced mounting criticism over its communication strategy, public opinion largely separated Catherine from the controversy, choosing instead to stand firmly behind her during one of the most difficult periods of her life. For weeks, her disappearance from public duties sparked endless rumors, online speculation, and countless conspiracy theories. Every new photograph, report, or statement seemed to fuel fresh debate rather than provide reassurance. Many observers argued that the palace's inconsistent messaging had created unnecessary confusion, allowing false stories to spread across social media and dominate news headlines. Yet even as criticism of the institution intensified, sympathy for Catherine continued to grow. Everything changed when she released a calm, heartfelt video revealing that she had been diagnosed with cancer and had begun preventative chemotherapy. Speaking with remarkable honesty and composure, Catherine explained that she and her family had needed time to come to terms with the diagnosis before sharing the news publicly. She also emphasized her desire to protect Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis while helping them understand the situation in the privacy of their home. Her message struck a powerful emotional chord across Britain and beyond. Millions admired the dignity, courage, and grace with which she addressed the nation during such a deeply personal challenge. Instead of seeking sympathy, she spoke with quiet strength, reassuring the public while remaining focused on her recovery and her family. The video immediately shifted public opinion, replacing weeks of speculation with widespread compassion and respect. A nationwide YouGov survey conducted after her announcement reflected this change in mood. Most Britons believed the royal family had shared an appropriate amount of information about Catherine's health, recognizing that serious medical matters deserve privacy even for public figures. Many people drew a clear distinction between their dissatisfaction with the palace's public relations approach and their unwavering respect for the princess herself. Several well-known commentators and public figures who had previously questioned her absence openly admitted they had been wrong. Many expressed regret for their earlier remarks and offered heartfelt apologies, praising Catherine's resilience and extending their best wishes for her recovery. In the end, what could have become a lasting blow to her public standing achieved almost the opposite effect. Catherine emerged from the crisis with her reputation not only intact, but arguably stronger than before. The episode highlighted the deep affection, trust, and goodwill she enjoys among the British public, reinforcing her image as a compassionate, dependable, and resilient future queen whose quiet strength continues to inspire admiration, both at home and around the world. Is Catherine really prepared to take the position? Does she have what it takes to wear the crown? Let's find out. Catherine's rise to future queenship. For many years, Catherine, Princess of Wales, has been quietly preparing for one of the most demanding and closely watched roles in the world. Although the day Prince William becomes king has not yet arrived, many royal experts believe Catherine is already proving that she has everything needed to become an exceptional queen. According to royal biographer Katie Nicholl and several people familiar with the inner workings of the royal family, Catherine is no longer simply learning the job. She is widely seen as someone who is already fully prepared for the enormous responsibility that lies ahead. Those who have watched her closely often describe her as calm, dependable, and deeply committed to public service. Throughout the years, she has carried out hundreds of royal engagements with confidence, treating every duty with seriousness and respect. Rather than seeking attention, Catherine has built her reputation through consistency, patience, and a quiet determination to serve. Palace insiders often say she is more than equipped to stand beside Prince William when he eventually takes the throne, providing both strength and stability during a new chapter for the monarchy. One of Catherine's greatest achievements has been her ability to successfully balance two very important roles. While carrying out her royal responsibilities, she has also remained a devoted and hands-on mother to Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis. Friends and royal commentators say that she and Prince William have never viewed family life as separate from their royal duties. Instead, they believe raising their children with strong values, discipline, and compassion is one of the most important ways they can protect the future of the monarchy. By preparing the next generation, they are also helping to secure the future of the crown itself. Catherine's personal journey has also strengthened public admiration for her. Over the years, she has faced enormous public attention and several deeply personal challenges, all while living under the constant spotlight that comes with royal life. Yet, rather than allowing those difficulties to define her, she has responded with remarkable grace, quiet courage, and unwavering dignity. These experiences, royal observers believe, have given her greater wisdom, strengthened her relationship with Prince William, and made her even more relatable to millions of people, both in Britain and around the world. Many commentators also point to the extraordinary transformation she has undergone since first joining the royal family. Once seen as a shy and slightly nervous young woman adjusting to royal life, Catherine has gradually grown into one of the monarchy's most admired, respected, and influential figures. If she continues on this path, many experts believe she is perfectly positioned to become an outstanding queen consort, helping to guide the royal family with confidence, compassion, and steady leadership for many years to come. Did Charles's decision affect their relationship? Was Camilla able to accept his decision in good faith? Let's dig into the details of love and doubt that define the future of the monarchy. Love yielded before royal duty. The next morning, away from the noise of palace life, Charles and Camilla met in a quiet garden room hidden from public view. There were no royal officials standing nearby, no advisors offering carefully chosen words, and no cameras waiting to capture every expression. For the first time since the announcement, it was simply a husband and wife facing one another in complete privacy. Camilla did not arrive looking for another disagreement. Instead, she asked one heartfelt question: had Charles made this painful decision because she had somehow failed the monarchy, or because he no longer believed in her? Charles answered without the slightest pause. His feelings for her had not changed. He still loved her as deeply as ever, but love and duty were no longer walking the same path. As king, he explained, his highest responsibility would always be to protect the crown and prepare it for the future. Giving Catherine a greater public role was never meant to push Camilla aside. It was a responsibility that came with the throne itself. Camilla remained silent for several moments before revealing a truth she had kept hidden. Watching Catherine become increasingly admired across Britain had awakened an old fear. After everything she had endured over the years, she worried that history might quietly leave her behind and remember others instead. Slowly, she placed a photograph of Charles on the table between them. It was her quiet way of ending the conflict. She promised there would be no more private battles over ceremonial duties or public appearances. Whether the rivalry had truly existed or only lived in people's imaginations, she wanted it to end there. Charles gently assured her that nothing could change the fact that she was his wife. Her dignity, comfort, security, and private life would always be protected. Only the public responsibilities attached to her role had changed. When the royal family appeared together again, Britain immediately noticed a different picture. Charles stood firmly at the center, while William and Catherine stepped confidently into their expanded roles. Camilla, once central to many royal ceremonies, now stood further from the spotlight. The nation quickly split in opinion, leaving one question hanging in the air. Had Charles chosen duty over love, or was this simply the unavoidable price of preserving the monarchy for generations yet to come? So, What do you think about King Charles's decision? Do you feel Catherine is really fit for the role? We'd love to hear your opinions in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe.